was the daunting bit. Whatever happened to him, he was always straight back out there, you know. And I believed every single word he said. And I didn't have to know what he was saying, I just believed it. Why did I decide to write the book? A bit fed up with reading books about Joy Division by people that weren't there.
What's the myth that goes around Joy Division? Do you find that frustrating? Do you find it suffocating in a way as well?
No, not at all. I mean, the thing is that it was quite interesting because Joy Division literally finished on the day Ian died, especially for us as musicians. What happened then was that you literally just put it away. So all the myths that surrounded it and people talking about it and pontificating about it at great length, you were sort of very detached from it. And it just didn't really feel part of your world anymore. So no, it didn't really bother me. I mean, I think in a way you sort of missed the, especially with Ian, the way he was very, very friendly, very funny and fun. So I suppose that was the part that people didn't concentrate on, which I suppose in a way is what I'm trying to concentrate on in the book, maybe. Is the sort of the fun side of it, because people used to think we were very, very serious all the time, and the thing was that we were very serious when we were in the group, because it was hard work and you wanted it to succeed. But outside of that, I'd like to think that we were perfectly normal.
Because you spent decades trying to debunk the myth, haven't you? Even even in the early interviews, it always seems to be particularly you that tried to try and make out it was a bunch of lads from Salford, which it is and it isn't really, isn't it, as well?
Well, no, I mean, the thing is that all groups are chemistry lessons, aren't they? When you get a successful group, it's actually quite intangible what each member brings that makes it perfect. The distance you kept from it while you were working as New Order felt quite natural, and it was like someone else's band in a way. Once I was outside of that, when New Order split, it just struck me. I thought, why do we never celebrate anything to do with Joy Division? Because we only really played Joy Division songs once for Versus Cancer. We only played 9, and then we played them again, and Barney decided he didn't like them. He said they were miserable. No, but I do understand in a way, because it's such a contrast to New Order's music, and also he's singing someone else's song. So I do get it. I'm not, don't want to be hard. It's personal taste and personal choice. So we didn't do it again, and that was the end of it. And I just thought, it's a shame. When we came in 2010, what happened was that I was involved with Steve in doing a memorial concert at Macclesfield Town Football Club, and an exhibition with Peter Saville in Mac to celebrate Ian's life. It's 30 years. And I thought it was well overdue, really, really well overdue, and me and Steve were working on it independently, not together of course, but we were both helping. And it fell through right at the last minute. And I just thought, again, I couldn't believe it, and I thought, 30 years. I thought, oh shit man, I should do something. And I had my club, obviously, still got my club in Manchester, still got a few friends to help me out, and I decided to do it. And the idea of doing it, I was a little bit mystified about what form it was going to take, because there is always that horrible feeling that you're in a sort of tribute band to yourself. So it was about translating what Martin Hanick did for the group, making the LP sound a lot different to Joy Division, and interpreting it in a way that made me happy, because when I heard the difference that Martin had made, because I'd never really acknowledged it before, I thought, shit, I made a mistake.
Well, because famously you never liked his production at the time, did you?
No. Well, I mean, it was 23, so I think I'm allowed.
Because you wanted it to sound like a proper
I wanted it to sound like a punk record, like the Sex Pistols or the Clash. And I felt that we'd been cheated because we didn't sound like the Sex. I mean, how could you be more wrong? It's pretty fucking good going now.
I mean, did you say anything to Martin Hannett in the studio? Like,
Yeah,
like, what
yeah,
the fuck
that's
are
why
you
he
doing?
hated us, yeah.
Yeah.
He hated Barney and I with an absolute vengeance. That pair of twats, you know, that thing in when he were doing isolation in Control was actually how he was with us. We used to drive him fucking insane. Because we were always on his case. You know, so yeah.
Did he have the vision for the sound before he started? Or was he just
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of-
Martin had a unique gift in the way that you'd have to say somebody like Phil Spector or Steve Lillywhite has, in that he knew exactly, as soon as he heard the song, he knew exactly what he was going to do with it. And he did, you know, he made those songs last for 30 years, they still sound fantastic now. And that came as a bit of a revelation to me when I heard the record. And that's why it was such a pleasure to play it as a record. And also, it sort of satisfies me artistically. That I thought, it'd be lovely to play every song you've ever written before you shuffle off this mortal coil. So I'm on, you know, about halfway there.
So when you were working with Martin Hannett, did Ian Curtis? Because people say he was the closest to Martin Hannett when he had the idea. He was more into the idea going forward, that sort of sound.
Yeah, I think that Ian had more of a vision than Barney and I, shall we say. Steve never said anything. And, you know, Ian did have more of an affinity. Ian got on better with Tony and Martin than, you know, Barney and I did. I don't know, it was just one of those things, really.
Yeah, so because he's more ambitious, or he had like a...
Well, I think he was able to, I mean, you know, I suppose in the book I'm making out that he's quite a chameleon, but I think he just had respect for them both. He also was interested in things that they were interested in, you know, literature. Ian seemed, and he came across really well educated, as Tony was. He was quite arty, like Martin was, whereas me and Barney were just, oh, fuck off, fucking swat, you know.
I think when you do this, you're underplaying your role quite a lot.
Well, I think, I mean, I'm
are
underplaying my
your
role
offers
from
and
the
make up bass
time.
lines like that. They're pretty artful bass lines, aren't they?
Well, yes, I suppose there is another side to your character. I mean, the thing is that you all have different sides to your character that comes out. You know, you can tell usually when a pretty woman walks in the room. Oh, hello. You know, you sometimes change. So I suppose we all are guilty of being people pleasers when it suits us. But I would have to say that Ian did find a way of tuning into Martin that Bernard and I fought, I suppose.
Is that because he was messing around with your sounds more?
Well, I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, it was. I think it's about power, isn't it? When you've sort of lived with your music for as long as we had, which had been, you know, most of the songs on Unknown Pleasures we'd had for 18 months. We'd been playing them over and over again. We sort of knew exactly how we wanted them to sound. And then Martin took them, and he did a really good job on Digital and Glass. Actually, it was very powerful, very ballsy. You know, your parts were right up there. And then when you got to the LP, he seemed to go very subtle, and that was where you sort of fell out a little. That was all. But I mean, you know, I didn't have a clue. I learned everything I knew about production from Martin, and it was actually a pleasure to watch him work, because it was like you were never interested at school because you weren't doing things that interested you, but Martin was doing something that interested you. And it was absolutely wonderful to watch and learn from him. And then, because Martin got so difficult, you felt in your ambition that you were ready to get rid of him, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, getting to the top, it's survival.
You're surrounded by a lot of very strong people, weren't you? Like strong characters.
Yeah, I mean...
Rob Gretton, Tony Wilson.
I mean, Rob was, the strongest, probably one of the strongest characters I've ever met. Rob had a vision as well, and basically all we wanted to do was play. We weren't interested in money. We just wanted to play. We didn't care where it was or how much we got. It never crossed our mind to ask, oh, how much did we get? Never, you know, and we just wanted to play, and as long as he gave us the gigs we were happy, then he could get on with his plan.
And what do you think of the way he portrayed in the films?
Me? Well, I mean...
But there's parts of it that are quite like you, isn't there?
Well, oh no, in Control, the guy got me absolutely completely. And it was a bit shit. But he also got Barney completely, and Steve, absolutely. And I'd expect that from Anton, because Anton knows us quite well.
So when you wrote the book, did it actually make you reevaluate the relationships you had with people like Barney and Steve?
No. The book is a very, very, and I have to say, it's true. Very, very truthful about what happened at the time as far as I remember it. I mean, I can't write anything else. And the thing is that as soon as you ask somebody else, they always have a completely different memory of it. You know, it's like your mates, isn't it? Do you remember that time in Prague when you got that tranny? And he's going, no, I don't remember that.
Did you put that memory in the book? No.
I don't remember it. It's like that, isn't it? You know, everybody remembers everything differently. And if you start asking people, then it's going into the pot, isn't it? It's not what you feel or what you thought.
You first met Barney when you were 11, didn't you?
Yeah, I met him at Salford Grammar School, more or less, you know, when we walked in, 11 years old. Yeah.
So were you friends straight away?
Yeah, pretty much so. Yeah, we got, you know, you get acquainted, don't you? And then you become friends. Yeah.
So was music a big thing for you at that point in time?
Not at the start. We both became scooter boys, mods, skinheads. So we got involved, you know, into reggae, specials, and that type of sound. Not the specials, that was after.
Yeah, but we're talking late 60s here, aren't you? Because
yeah, I'm talking about, no, not in my 60s.
You're fibbing about your age here, aren't you? If it's a specials, you'd be a little younger than you are. Yeah.
Thank you. Then we went into heavy metal. And
was it Black Sabbath he was into?
No, my mate was into Black Sabbath actually. He used to put it on and try and jump through he used to take mushrooms, put Black Sabbath on and then try and jump through his parents' window.
I can understand
he
that.
used to keep bouncing off it. I mean, I never got it, you know, maybe I never got that connection with Black Sabbath. Paranoid was great, but no, it was Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, bands like that for me, sort of straightforward heavy metal bands. And
is that the same with Barney as well?
Yeah, we went to we used to go and see him together. Yeah, the pair of us, we were into it, and you know, as I said in the book, he had Santana on his fly screen of his scooter, and I had a Braxis. We were the perfect couple.
Best mates.
Best mates. Yeah.
So you'd be going to gigs in town a lot.
Yeah, we used to see at the Hard Rock in Stretford, saw Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple at at the Free Trade Hall. And things like that. But I mean, it wasn't music that you'd look at and go, oh, you know, I didn't look at John Paul Jones and go, oh, I could do that. Hey, you know, no chance. It was really removed. I saw Bowie and people like that. And then sort of my music taste changed when I was about 17 through Cockney Rebel and hearing Sebastian. And I bought the LP, and then I got into Roxy music, and then back into Bowie, funnily enough. And that was where.
So you're getting a little trendier here.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just time when you're trying to get off the girls.
By God, we are going back, aren't we? Yeah, then I was going out. I mean, yeah, that's what we did, didn't we?
So you go down to Pips?
Yes. Yeah, we used to go to the Roxy Room in Pips, and my greatest wonderful story about Pips, which is a nightclub in Manchester, just by the cathedral, funnily enough, was that David Bowie was playing in Bellevue. And he came down because he'd heard of the Roxy Room and came down to see his room, the Brian Ferry room, and the bouncers wouldn't let him in because he had jeans on. Which is absolutely true, and kicked him out. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, but no, I mean, it's just normal going out. And in many ways, I was actually glad of that normal life that I had from, say, 16 when I started work to 21 when I joined the band. And I was working at the town hall. I was on holiday in Newquay, and I'd been reading the music papers all the time at work because it was so boring. And I got the one with the Sex Pistols fighting on the front, and I was just reading it in the car park in Newquay, like you do, waiting for my mates to wake up because we were all sleeping in the car. Them were the days. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting. I'd read about them a little bit before, but it was that caught my eye, you know, fighting at a gig. Oh, wow, that's pretty weird. You don't get Led Zeppelin doing that. Deep Purple. So I thought that was quite strange. And when we came back to Manchester, there was an advert in the evening news to see the Sex Pistols at Lesser Free Trade Hall, 50p. And that was it. And I must admit that doing the book did make you realise how ridiculous it was to walk in that night and then walk out that night and then still be doing it 34 years later. Yeah, playing music. I mean, that was, if I'd have missed that, Jesus.
There was always a second one, wasn't there?
Well, yeah. It does make you wonder, though, because it was after the first one. We didn't know they were going to play the second one. It was the first one we decided to form the group. Simply because Johnny Rotten looked like he was having fun telling everyone to fuck off. Looks good, you know. Oh, yeah, I can do that.
I mean, and it's that, but also a sense of excitement and...
Well, I mean, for me, there was, yeah, because it was just something that you'd never, ever seen before. And as I say in the book, the support band were a band called Solstice.
Prog band.
Yeah, prog rock band who did a 25-minute cover version of Nantucket Sleigh Ride. Almost exactly the same as the record. And, you know, me and Barney were going, this is good, isn't it? Looking really good, this. Got that record, it's great, you know. And then the Sex Pistols came on. And you really could not compute, you know, what the fuck was going on. It was just like, wow, this is wild. It was just, it just like completely wiped everything you'd ever thought or felt before and gave you something that you didn't even know what it was.
So you kind of stand there and be kind of like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
And you say to Barney, fuck, we should do this as well. Was it?
No, we were honest like that.
Yeah.
It was just, it sounded fucking dreadful. And it looked, I suppose you'd have to say, dreadful, because they weren't doing anything that you'd ever been used to before in any kind of show. But it just looked like the perfect answer that you'd been looking for all your teenage years. That nihilistic, fuck you attitude, we don't care. You know, it's like, that's exactly how I feel. And I mean, the chances of us both, Bernard and I, walking out of that and then becoming the musicians and enjoying the success that you've had were probably as remote as the other 20 musicians that were there. I mean, it really was a very, very fortunate night for Manchester, you'd have to say. You know. But I mean, yeah, it did. Once that happened, I was in a band, and then from the next morning onwards, I was in a band, and that was it.
So the conversation way home that night was, let's do the same thing. And
Yeah,
you bought the 30 quid bass, didn't you?
Yeah, 35 quid bass the next day, borrowed
It's gone
money
up.
off my mum. It's 35 quid, man, to you.
I'll stick on eBay, yeah.
I'm hoping it'll get a little bit more
20
on
quid,
eBay.
yeah.
But no, it was, I bought the bass, and I couldn't afford a case, and he gave me the bin bag, which fitted in perfectly, so I carried my bass home in a bin bag on the number 9 to Little Alton, and didn't know what the fucking hell to do with it.
So how did you learn? Did you play along, or did Barney can only play a bit of
Well,
guitar?
I can't play along because I'm tone deaf. So if somebody plays me a record and then goes, can you play that? I remember when Bill Wyman left the Rolling Stones, and I heard that I was 5th in line for the Rolling Stones. And honestly, Mick Jagger could have put a fucking gun to my head and go, play Satisfaction, and I've just gone, shoot, mate. I just can't do it. I just cannot pick other people's tunes up. I can do my own, but I can't, as my mother used to say, hold a tune in a bucket. I find it very difficult. I don't know why. It's really, really weird. So I went to Bernard's, and me and him started playing together.
I thought he could already play, so he started at the
Well,
same time.
he couldn't play. We used to sit in his bedroom, and he had his guitar and a little amp, and he'd go on that for 5 minutes. Let's do something else. It was just, like a proper kid. So no, we couldn't play either of us, and we only started playing. And he started sort of remembering, oh yeah, it was really like that, wasn't it? Let's do that, And you came through that, and then we went to Mammy Locks and bought 2 books: the Palmer Hughes book of rock and roll bass guitar, and the Palmer Hughes book of rock and roll guitar.
Did they help very much?
No. I've never been a manual reader.
Yeah.
But he did have stickers that you put on your guitar, you see, to show you where the notes were, and that was actually quite nice because it looked quite punky. And when the stickers wore off, I painted it on with Tipex.
Oh, that was the
that I
classic
stole
thing
from
to do,
work.
Yeah.
So, Barney would shout, F, 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 G, You know, it was literally learning on the hoof, as we say. And it was really exciting. And the weird thing about punk was that there was loads of gigs, and you could just turn up with your equipment and play shit, and no one bothered. I mean, you try doing that now. You know what I mean? You just won't get away with it, would you? But all the bands, like I remember my favourite band were called The Worst. And they really were the worst.
Yeah.
Just a drummer and a guitarist. And I remember one wonderful moment, and the guy must have thought that I'd been in the group for a while, so I was, you know, knowledgeable. And he brought me the two, his jack lead, he brought me the two jacks and said, "Which one do I plug in the amp?" Even I was like that. Oh, I better ask Barney. Yeah, so but it was great, and you could, all these bands were turning up and just playing, you know, it was true anarchy.
Yeah.
But there was no money involved. I think they might have been charging 20p at the door.
Well, you think you're going to get paid for turning up and playing shows?
Well, no, we never bothered about the money.
What was the first gig like? Was it?
I can't remember the first gig. I was so frightened. I can't remember it at all. I sort of remember dimly walking to the stage, and then I remember jumping off. And that's all. I don't remember anything else of it because I was so fucking scared. I was terrified.
I mean, you're already having your own sound because you couldn't play anything else. You're already.
Well, I mean, we never did cover versions. The only time we did a cover version was when we started getting compared to the Doors a lot. And Barney said to me, "Who are the Doors?" And I was like, "I don't know." I said, "Better ask Ian." "Ian, who are the Doors?" You know, he said, "Oh, I'll lend you the record." He lent us the record, and fuck me, we did sound like the Doors.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we used to do a cover version of Riders on the Storm, but it was so bad that nobody ever noticed. They just thought it was one of ours. And in Joy Division, it was very easy to write songs. You just every practice, you'd practice for 2 hours, you know, or it used to be an hour and a half because it was all we could afford on a Wednesday, and then 2 hours on a Sunday, and you get a tune each night because you were just so prolific and so enthusiastic, and your cupboard was empty, so you were filling it, all the time.
A lot of this was jamming, wasn't it? With Ian.
It was all jamming,
but
funnily
Ian
enough, occasionally.
Out,
Yeah. I mean, what we did was we've always written, much to Bernard's annoyance towards the end. Actually, they always come from jams, and then you listen to them and pick a bit out where there's an overlap that sounds interesting, and then you work on that and build it up from there. And Ian was the guy that used to do that for you. He'd listen to it and say, "Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good, that you do that, okay, you know, do that." And then Steve, put them jungle drums on it. Bernard, do your guitar, you know, and then boof, yeah, there was Joy Division.
So would this be listening back to tapes, or would he be sat in a chair?
Well, no, we couldn't afford a tape at first,
Yeah.
And the only time the music actually existed was when the four of you played it, which I thought was amazing.
Wow, to remember.
When you think about it now, how easy it is to record everything now, and how it all goes up for us all to lament over for the rest of our lives. To think that the only time it existed was when the four people were in the room with their instruments.
You might have forgotten some good ones.
Amazing. We forgot a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where pictures came from. You know, I saw that kid, someone stole the tape off Rock Gretton, and the bootleggers gave it back to me. Really kindly. I didn't have to pay for that one, I had to pay for most of them. And the song was on it, but I don't remember it. I'm sure the others don't remember it either. You know, it's just something that had gone, and it was nearly finished, and that was the impetus behind that, was that Ian always used to say, you should finish every song you do, because someone will love it, even if you don't, you know, and he was absolutely true. How many people come up to you saying, "Oh, you know, Candidate, I love that song, it reminds me of this, it reminds me of that." And you're like, "Oh, God, you know, it was Ian who made us finish that."
So was he quite disciplined in some ways?
Yeah, he was very driven, very ambitious, and wanted you, I suppose, to not leave any untidy ends. So he'd encourage you to finish everything that you did. And that was the thought I got when I heard that. I thought, oh, it's going to take me half an hour to finish that. You know, finish it for Ian.
Well, I always wondered, why did you decide to get him as a singer? You obviously seen him around at gigs, hadn't you, with the...
No, I mean, we
just like kind of a guy who should be in a band.
Well, he became a friend at the gigs, but he was in a band. He had a guitarist, and we had a guitarist and a bass player. So because
You had
in
more.
our minds, the rules of punk said you couldn't have more than one guitar. We couldn't join, so we had to wait for him to lose. I think he had a drummer as well, actually. We had to wait for him to lose his guys before he could join us. As soon as he did that, oh Ian, yeah, you know, the kid with 8 on his back. And no more unlikely person could you ever imagine to have hate written on his back than Ian Curtis. He was one of the nicest people you'd ever meet. But we'd seen him at a few gigs, and it was like there was a bunch of people that made all the gigs, and he was one of them. And you'd talk about what you were doing, talk about your bands, which was the main topic of conversation. So we knew he was there, and it was funny because Barney says that we advertised and got him, but I don't remember that. I remember us just meeting him.
Why are you actually specifically looking for a singer? Because surely if punk was just about being
I
amateur
don't
doing
think
it,
Barney and I didn't want to be a singer.
you just didn't want to, yeah.
No, it never crossed our minds really.
Actually, why did you actually even get a bass? Because Barney
Because
already
Barney
had a
had a
guitar.
guitar.
Yeah. The rules of punk, I forgot.
That was close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The drums are too hard to play, you didn't want to be a singer.
No, I didn't want to be a drummer. No, you'd want to be a drummer.
Stephen?
No, I mean, I did used to drum along when I was in my dreaming phase to the New York Dolls. But no, I never, too much equipment to look about, isn't there, as a drummer. You
Yeah.
need the back.
Yeah.
Never my ego, I suppose you'd say.
You want to be the front.
Yeah, frontish.
I mean, right from the start, were you playing the bass almost like a lead guitar? Or you just
No,
play
I
louder than
think
everyone
the,
else? I mean, you famously play the bass pretty loud, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it came about, the style evolved, although it's ridiculous as it may sound, because my speaker was really bad. And because the speaker was bad, when you played low, you couldn't hear anything. So the only way you could play it was when you played high. When you played high, it cut through. And when Ian heard you play high, he seized on it and encouraged you to do that because it sounded presumably different, unique. Wow, that's fucking weird, do that, yeah.
So in a sense, you created your bass sound.
Yeah, I suppose you could say, or helped me.
Or collaboration, of course.
Yeah, or helped you, I'd like to think. But I mean, it's the melodies and the riffs sometimes amaze me, when I listen to them. 24 hours, Insight, She's Lost Control, you're like that, that's pretty good, that, if I say so myself. Wow. But my wife always says, whatever I do, whether it's raking the lawn or whatever, I always, it has to be, full on. There's no middle bit, it's either off or on. And so when I got the strap, it was like, right! And at one point, I was actually sending off to Japan for straps because they were quite short in Japan, but if you put two together, they were the perfect length.
Yeah. So you play around Manchester, you play around the circuit, and you took 6 months off, didn't you? You took a bit of time out to write.
No, we never took any time off. We couldn't get a gig. We sort of
involuntarily took time out.
Yes,
yeah.
we fell out with Buzzcocks because they called us Stiff Kittens, and we felt we changed the name to Warsaw, but we did it too late, and they couldn't do the posters. So, yeah, I mean, there was a few airy moments. It was very, very competitive. Groups are really competitive. Once it gets into that sphere, then I'm worse than anybody. I am really competitive. And it's just that thing about being in your little gang and all together, you're all suffering and working together, and you do become very incestuous. It was really weird because I thought DJs were worse, but DJs aren't like that at all. They're really friendly and helpful, whereas bands are very closed in and very competitive. So you were very competitive as a group, and it was a real struggle. It was really, really hard to get gigs, and to get out of Manchester seemed impossible. Phoning up venues in London in the hope that someone was walking past the phone, which would be behind the bar. They didn't even have offices, did they? It seems so archaic compared to how it is now. So yeah, I mean, it was really.
But it's a godsend because that period is when you basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, we carried on writing, and every song you were writing was better than the last one. And the songs fall off, don't they? At the end, your first one falls off quite quickly, followed by your second one, and then as you progress, hopefully, your set is wonderful.
But did you have any idea of changing? Because when you went to record, like you said before, you still wanted to sound like a raw punk band.
Yeah, I mean, Ideal for Living is very fast, very punky, very raw.
You can already,
record, but
you can
great
already hear
songs.
it there, can't you? The sound.
Yeah, I mean, great songs though. You know, those 4 songs on Ideal for Living are wonderful tunes. And that's been one of the delights really about, you know, playing it again. But there's such great tunes, and they're fantastic to play, and to get them back after 30 years was wonderful. And if you look at an LP like Closer that we finished in the studio with Martin, and we never really had the chance to play the songs that we'd finished because Ian died and then we stopped. To get those back in 2011 was just amazing, you know. The Light, God bless them, Jack and the lads, they did such a great job, and they were so enthusiastic and so hard-working in making sure that they did them justice, you know. In sometimes I wish they'd have written them. It's like they really worked hard to bring them to life, you know, and to make me happy. And it was fantastic to get through Closer again, and to play it as an LP really does have a profound feeling on you. When I'm playing it, I'm like, wow, you know.
But when you went back to them, because famously you didn't know what he was singing about at the time, so you couldn't hear his
No, I mean,
words.
I had an idea. I mean,
Yeah.
the way I put it is that I was playing bass to an audience like this lot, all going mad. I looked at the singer was fucking going for it. And I believed every single word he said. And I didn't have to know what he was saying, I just believed it. I could tell by looking at him that he fucking meant it, and you were all gonna die. It's like that, you know, and it was just, I didn't need to know the ands and the there's. He just looked and lived it, it was fantastic. So, I mean, and the sound was bad, don't forget, you know, we couldn't record it, and it was only when we went in to do Unknown Pleasures that I actually heard what he was singing.
And what did you think?
I thought it was fantastic, but I always thought that because his delivery was so passionate and so intense, and I'd seen the words that he was writing, you know, I featured one in the book that he'd given me to protect the publishing. So I knew they were fantastic, I knew they were much better than my words. Well, forget that, you know. But he was so, to sing them again, to learn to sing them as I had to do was terrifying. But when you saw how clever he was lyrically, and then how clever he was musically, and the melodies that he did, and the onomatopoeia in the way that he repeated the rhymes, and the rhythm of the words, that was something I'd really underestimated. And the thing is that you don't really notice it, you just hear a great tune with a great vocal. And most of the Joy Division songs don't have choruses, yet people still remember them. So he must have, you know, he was doing something completely right. The sense was that it was getting more difficult to control his illness. And that was just depressing. I mean, it was depressing for us. So it must have been awful for him. But there was nothing, you just, you know, bit your lip and got on with it. Ian's gone again. Fucking hell, Ian, come here, Ian. Sitting there holding his tongue, you know, waiting for him to get up. And when he got up, you made sure he was all right. You just looked after him. It's just something.
He's straight back out there.
He was always, fucking hell, unbelievable. Whatever happened to him, he was always straight back out there, you know. You never had to take him home. He was just up and again, it was fucking amazing. I suppose in a way it was quite confusing because he never gave into it and never seemed to want to give into it. And it was like he was saying, I don't care what happens, I'm not giving in, and neither are you lot. And we were like, yeah, good, because none of us wanted to give in anyway, you know, we wanted to carry on. And he put so much hard work and so much ambition and passion into it, he did not want to stop. And he was his own worst enemy for that, because we were daft. We were looking for a way out, I suppose. And Ian gave us the way out. Forget it, don't worry, carry on.
I mean, when you're writing the book, do you think you could have dealt with the situation a different way?
Oh God, yeah, but you know, hindsight is a wonderful thing. And experience and age, we were so young, we were as daft as brushes then. The education about it all was really bad, you know, there was no awareness of what you were dealing with. And even when he was ill, nobody came to us and said, right, okay, sit down, this is what you're dealing with. You were completely in the dark, you know, no one talked about it, even while he was going through it. And you sort of just had to cope and put up with it. But the problem was, if anything, that we were delighted to hear him tell us he was all right. Because it gave, thank God, you know. And what happened when I wrote the book was that when you wrote down in the timeline the occasions, because I convinced myself that he actually got ill towards the end of Joy Division. That's what I thought. But when you looked at it in the timeline, it was right at the start. I was like, oh, shit. You know, I mean, it just shows you how you can remember things, how it suits you, you know. But I mean, it was horrible to witness. I amazed myself in the timeline. Like, you know, you'd watch his suicide attempt, and then he'd be at a gig the next night. Yeah, fucking hell, that's just pretty wild.
Did writing the book help you to come to terms emotionally with his death?
I'm not too sure it's anything that will ever sort of resolve or you can come to terms with. It's you felt guilty about it at the time. It's a nice ringtone, though. It's very dreamy. You sort of struggled to come to terms with it at the time, but you achieved that by hiding it and putting it away. I'll never come to terms with it, and it's always a puzzle, and it's stayed with you right the way through the 30 years. You know, I mean, I have these pictures up in my office. I sit between them every day when I'm working. You know, and so it's always there with you, and it always is one of those unanswered questions. You know, why the fuck did he do it that night? When he seemed to have everything you could want, you know, the next day. When I did the celebration, we were going to do one night at the factory, and that was it. And it sold out immediately, and so we did two. It wasn't too daunting a task. It was just Ian, you know, singing Ian's songs was the daunting bit, because I hold him as a god, you know. And so I was fucking terrified. I really was. You can hear it, you know, when I listen to the tapes now. I can hear my voice trembling. I mean, the impact the music has had over the years is such a great testament to Bernard, Stephen, Ian and me. It's amazing that you can be together for 2.5 years. We're only professional for 6 months, right? If you can call professional getting £7 a week and still having to put money in to go to a gig, you know. So it's amazing, that thing. But Rob Gretton always said that we would have that effect, but we never realised it. And, you know, as I've quite famously said at Ian's wake, he was sat there going, don't worry, lads, Joy Division will be really big in 10 years. And 20. And he was like, it didn't fucking matter, you know what I mean? But what I love about Joy Division was it was not about money. Money never came into it, you know. There was no arguments about publishing. There was no arguments about who's got the biggest hotel room or who's got the most drugs or all that crap. It was actually very pure, for very like-minded people, all focused and all looking the same way and hoping for the same thing, which was just for people to hear your music.
That's a good place to leave. Thanks to Hooky, and don't forget to buy his book on the way out.